Before the light of the gods entered the world, there was only darkness ruled by titans. After an epic war, Zeus seized the heavens and exiled the titans, seeking to imprison them for all eternity. The lands were cleansed and mortals flourished. But arrogance precedes many a fall. And even a god's prison may be breached.
Hurrah! So today's little showcase is quite an old game. It's a game that's quite dear to me, actually. I played this when I was a lot younger. Directly after Diablo 2, pretty much. Now this game is a hack and slash RPG like Diablo 2, like Grim Dawn. And in fact, Grim Dawn was modeled after this game pretty much bit for bit in terms of how mechanics works. So if you saw my Grim Dawn video, you're going to recognize a lot of things here. Now, the game's options menu has been updated several times because this game is from 2006. And it was developed by THQ back then. It was published by THQ and developed by Ironlore. And it was later then purchased by THQ Nordic. Now, this game has a lot of the features you'd expect, right? It has a very basic loot filter. It has game speed, actually, which is quite surprising. A lot of games don't do this. I'm playing on very fast, but I'll put it on normal so you can understand a little bit what's going on. Now, it has virtually no accessibility features at all. Like, there's no colorblind, nothing. So if you're colorblind, yeah, you're going to struggle a little, because there are some aspects of this game that does deal with color, loot being one of them. What I'm going to show you is this game doesn't have as many cool features as Grim Dawn or Path of Exile or, hey, even Diablo 3 has, I think, a little bit more. So if we're going to just make a character here, and I don't know, it doesn't really matter. You can actually start in other expansions. This game has 4 of them, but you can actually start in them if you want to. Legendary Hero will be in Eternal Embers, so you can actually create another character that's stronger than this. And character customization, this is pretty much all you can get. You can change the tunic color and stuff, but that's pretty much it. Now, the game itself is quite good, and I'll let you watch this.
One day, the sun will dim and spread a shadow over the earth. Temples, which have stood forever, will be destroyed. The heavens will vanish, and the gods will fall upon the earth. One day the weak will have power over the strong. The poets will stop singing and instead take up the sword. It is in these darkest times that the strongest of heroes are born.
So this game is very thematic, and it's set in Greece, so everything that you'd expect from that mythology is here. Zeus, all that.
You there, soldier!
And you actually meet King Leonidas here. If you watch 300, the movie, you'll understand a little bit what I mean. This is like any other hack and slash RPG. You start out, you know, weak, well, ish. And you fight your way up to what is essentially success. Now the game is, I don't know how to explain this, but you know how Diablo 2 felt a certain way? This game feels a certain way. Like, it genuinely does. Like, the game feels meaty somehow. Especially if you play melee. Because of the ragdoll physics in this game. They're quite funny, but they do actually add a lot to the feel. It feels impactful. Now, I mentioned Grim Dawn earlier. And there's a reason for this. The class system works exactly like Grim Dawn, right? Because Grim Dawn based their system off this, I bet you. Because it's the exact same. So, once I level here, which won't take too long. It'll take a little bit. The game works off a very similar attribute system like most games do from this era. Although this one is a little bit different. One, the game is harder, as you can see. I'm already almost dying. In the start, the game is a lot more unforgiving. It's a lot more challenging. It's a lot more punishing. And towns won't save you, so I'm gonna die here. You have to be very careful when you play this game from the start. And when you die, I'm gonna turn this off because I don't need it. I played hundreds of hours of this. The game sort of balances out, but the start can be quite difficult.
It is not safe. Goodbye, my friend.
This is my gravestone. You have to collect it to get the experience you lost. Now, there are a couple of differences between this and Grim Dawn. Grim Dawn has a devotion system. I don't know if you remember this, but it's like an overarching point system that you get gradually for playing. Unless the newest expansion adds this, this game doesn't have that. Instead, the gear you have, and the skills you purchase, and the artifacts, which is the same system as Grim Dawn that you can put into your gear, that's how you dictate your power, right? So that means this game is a lot less complicated. It's easier to get into. And a lot easier to understand. But don't get me wrong, the game's still punishing, right? As you can see, like, I'm doing fine now because I'm being less careless, but I died before, right? Now, there is an aspect here that I will mention. The game's base sort of, I guess you could say, class and leveling system. It's greatly expanded by the expansions, right? You can still play this and finish it and feel accomplished by just playing the original game, which comes with the Titan Quest, which is the normal acts that you'd expect, and then you get the Immortal Throne if you buy the normal basic Titan Quest variant. So you already come with one of the DLCs already. And that one adds a mastery called Dream, which I will show you. And then the other two expansions after add the other two classes, which I will also show you. So the base game is Titan Quest and Immortal Throne. And then you have Atlantis, Ragnarok, and Eternal Embers. The reason I said the other two masteries add the classes is because the Atlantis one does not add anything. It adds a bunch of other features instead. I'd argue it's one of the weaker expansions, unless I'm wrong, but I will be corrected in a second, because I will level up. So, each expansion adds quite a significant amount of stuff. I'll show you here. Alright, here we go. Now, the little nodules here are the classes, right? So this one, this one's from the base game, 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 base game. This one's added by the Ragnarok expansion. This one's added by the Nedian, the Eternal Embers expansion. So it's called Nedian. And this one's added by the Immortal Throne, which you already have. So you'll get this just from having Titan Quest. Now, you can pick two of these, obviously, because it's the exact same as Grim Dawn, right? And it works just like Grim Dawn. So if I pick Dream here, I will have to level inside the tree, like this. And I will gradually unlock skills as I go up, just like Grim Dawn. And I'll later be able to pick another class here, which allows me to, yet again, pick one of these, whichever one I like. Now, how do they feel? Like, how different are they? Well, all of these focus less on AoE. This game is less AoE focused. Now, you could argue that's a good or bad thing. Personally, I find that it's quite a nice thing. Because this game feels more down to earth. You feel weaker. You feel more in danger. Now, some people won't like that. And that's okay. But I find that I like it. It's also why I call this a bit of an easier hack and slash RPG to get into. Even easier than Diablo. Because something that people don't talk about a lot is that Diablo 2 has resistances later in the difficulties. And it really hampers your playstyle if you don't know what you're doing. So you're probably going to have to restart a couple of times. Grim Dawn doesn't have this. Not as much. Has a little bit of it. Titan Quest has less of it as well. There are some, of course. Naturally. As you'd expect. Now, I mentioned earlier that the game has a similar artifact system to equipping your gear. And I will show that in a little bit when I switch character. I just wanted to talk a bit more about the DLCs, because the game itself doesn't feel fully complete without them. Because obviously, one, you're missing classes, that's never nice, but I think the biggest thing here is that you are kind of level locked a little. There's a maximum level that you achieve from doing the Immortal Throne expansion, which you get for free.
More energy.
And then after that, you kind of need to get the DLCs to, continue whatever story you're doing, or continue playing the game, really. It's the same thing if you're playing Diablo 2 and you've only got the normal, not the Lord of the Destruction thingy. So, it's the same thing there. Some people will argue that they are cash grabs, and they are a little bit, but I will tell you what each expansion gives you, more or less. So, Titan Quest gives you an entire new act, and the Dream thingy, which you already have, so I'm not going to talk too much about it. The next expansion after that is Atlantis. Now, Atlantis is a weird one. It didn't add a class, it added a game mode instead. It's like an endless wave thing. Think of it like the Crucible from Grim Dawn. So I have a loot filter on, I just noticed. Which, yeah. Let's just do that so you can see that you do actually get loot. So Atlantis has the endless mode, more or less. It's like an endless wave thing. Also add some features like quick cast, which, that's nice. That didn't exist before. There's also a gambler merchant that comes with the Atlantis one. And every skill line from 32 and up. So this thing and this thing, I believe it might be these two as well, are added along with the Atlantis. It expands every single skill tree by 2 nodules, I believe, or 1. I don't fully remember. It's been a very long time. It also adds the Atlantis Act, obviously. Quite a good one. It's the weakest expansion, in my opinion. Then you get Ragnarok. Now, Ragnarok was added by THQ Nordic, I believe, if I recall. Atlantis, I think, might be THQ Nordic as well. Been a very long time. I'm doing this one off memory, so we'll see how that goes. Ragnarok added the Rune Master, the Rune class that I showed you. It also added a level cap, of 85, which I believe 60 was the old one, but don't quote me on that. It also added a new act.
Goodbye.
The Eternal Embers, which is the newest expansion that released like a couple of months ago, actually. So they're still updating this game, like even, 10 years. Well, it's more now. It's 14 years after or something. It's ridiculous.
Leave if you must travel.
That added the Needium class, 4 new acts, believe it or not, and with like 15 side quests, if I recall. And buff potions, which is quite an interesting little extra mechanic. I haven't played that one that much. Because obviously, these games, they take a bit of a time commitment to play, and I can't really play too much. Now, there are a couple of things I want to mention here. This game has multiplayer. And last I tried, it worked, because THQ Nordic actually resurrected it. But obviously, no one plays this. It's very old. Well, I shouldn't say no one. No one of my friends play this. So it's quite old. It's quite far removed. Because obviously, you have Grim Dawn, you have Path of Exile, Diablo 2 Resurrected. Like, you have options, right? If you really like these kinds of games. So this one is like a nice tutorial one, I guess. It's very relaxed. You have a lot of features that are simpler. A lot of stuff that's simpler. Now, I'm not going to say the game's easy, because it's not. The bosses can be quite challenging. The game will kick your ass if you give it a chance to do so. But you're not penalized too much from dying. Like, you do lose experience, sure. But the bosses don't reset in health. At least not in the lower difficulties. I don't remember if they do in the higher ones. And it's quite easy to understand what you've done wrong. And it's sort of easier to fix it, if you get what I mean. Now I'm going to exit out here. Because there are 2 things I want to show you. We hop out and we go into Titan Quest. And then we go to... Let's see, which one? I think this one will be a very good showcase. So, I mentioned earlier that the game has a artifact system. I've mentioned it 3 times now. And it does. And it doesn't work quite like Grim Dawn. It's actually quite a pretty area that I am. I'm in the garden of whatever. Quite cute. Now, this is a weird summoner class that I was playing. Oh, God. Please let me live. I was playing a quite strange sort of class that I just messed around with. This is the Atlantis expansion that I'm in. But I'm gonna hop over to this expansion here, this part here. You can actually, I haven't actually played through. Go to Egypt. I just want to get away from that. That'll kill me. And I don't want to spoil too much in case you actually want to play through this entire thing on your own. So I want to go to the city that I know the best, which is in Delphi. I wanted to show you 2 things. Number 1, what a late game class will look like, or later game anyway. And that's what this will look like. I have a couple of minions. I have a couple of abilities that I can give them. This is a summoner class, in essence. Got some buffs that I can put on people. It's quite nice. Now, what I want to show you is that you can actually respec. So if you make mistakes, just like Grim Dawn, you can just... It's a bit more expensive than Grim Dawn, but that's okay. You can kind of know you, so to say. You can just remove it. Now, I don't think that you can decrease mastery points. This game doesn't let you do that. So once you're locked in, right? But it does give you some options. If you tried an ability, you didn't like it, it was bad, or it wasn't your thing, you can just remove the point and put it somewhere else.
May destiny
Now,
teach you greatness.
I mentioned the artifact system, and I'm actually going to show it now. And here it is. These are the artifacts that I talked about. And obviously you see enchant rings and amulets. And I'm going to go to my carrier. Chest, I guess. My stash. And you see that these have bonuses. It allows you to tweak the build with things that you need. Now these can be quite powerful. And they can change your build a little. And you can add to your build. Like if you lack armor, there are charms that deal just with armor. Deal with just protection. I believe it's this one. No? Oh, you're gonna have to take my word for it. Now, why did I mention that? Yeah, because this game also has this thing. I don't think I have one. But you can make these in here. You need to put the artifact here, which, I mean, this one is an artifact. And if you have these resources, you can actually make this. Which you can see, it's a greater artifact. And it has a lot of different damage bonuses. And it also grants a skill. Which, they're quite strong. They're quite good. And here are some resources for that, similar to this. So you can tweak your build. You can actually make your build fit whatever playstyle you currently have. Now, do I recommend this game? Yes, actually. It's I'm going to talk about prices now. This is the boring part of the video, I know. But the game is 19.99 euros, right? So you get Titan Quest and Immortal Throne. You get the Dream class. And you get features that attain to both of these. So Immortal Throne added a bunch of like stuff that you'd expect. For 19.99, that's nice. It's a quite cheap game for the amount of content you get. It's quite a lot. It lasts you a while. There's an easy 30 hours here if you wanna. You get quite a bit that you can sort of play around with. Now, the Atlantis expansion is $14.99. Because again, it adds less, but it's also cheaper. It adds an act though, so you can play through. And then you have Ragnarok, which increases the level cap. It's also $19.99. Eternal Embers, same thing there, $19.99. All in all, it's about 74 euros if you want to buy everything. If you want to be a complete perfectionist, it's about, I think it's 94.96 something. Sorry, 74.96 rather. So it's about 74 euros for everything. That's quite expensive, but if this game goes on sale a lot. So if you just want to buy the first little package, $19.99, you just play it, see how it feels. Before like a big winter sale or something. No one's going to blame you. And there's quite a lot of content here, like I said. Unless you want to play the other classes specifically. But I do actually recommend this. It's quite good. It lasts you quite a while. I think that's it for me, though. Like, I don't have much else to say about this. It's a simpler Diablo game, really. That's it. Anyway, I'm not going to plug myself, because fuck that shit.